is the NinjaRob podcast with Marco Perazzo and Tim Carpenter. The podcast for the true martial artist.
Why don't you give it a go, buddy?
I don't think I've ever done this.
Bring us in.
How does it start? How do you usually start it?
You let everybody know what's the name of the podcast that
This
we're
is the
doing.
NinjaRob. They just said it. It's just so weird for me. This is the NinjaRob podcast. I am Tim Carpenter, owner of Hellfish Mixed Martial Arts,
And then you say some sort of
With-
snippy, snide remark.
with the host.
Nice. We cleared it up yesterday on the Andocast, by
Oh,
the
yeah?
way. Yeah, got a lot.
I
Yeah,
can't wait
but
to hear it.
man, he's gonna get the Perazzo bump. He'll get at least 20, 30 extra listens on that one. But I am Marco Perazzo, head instructor and owner of New Jersey Martial Arts here at SFX Studios. And it seems that there's a problem running around the jiu-jitsu / podcasting world.
Beef?
Well, not beef, hemorrhoids. And not
The
even
world or just with Devon?
No, not with Devon, because I come to find out that the host of the Andocast had reached out to Devon because he possibly thought he was having a hemorrhoidal issue as well. So this guy's
That's not what.
they were commiserating
They're
about
bonding over hemorrhoids?
He made that up.
they're bonding over
Over gold bond?
That up.
gold bomb polyps, whatever problems that they
So
made.
wait, Ando has a roid?
He's making this up.
This is
I was
it
going to
is-
say, maybe it has something to do with podcasters are often sitting for long periods of time.
possibly
Doing
no, but
multiple podcasts.
he
a
thought
day.
he was having a podcast. He said he thought he might be having a hemorrhoid. So
What are
hopefully,
the symptoms? Just so our listeners can be aware.
yeah.
and
Well, how
be
does
ready.
one know that they're suffering from a hemorrhoid, Dev?
How about a lot of pain in your ass out of nowhere?
Yes, I guess if your asshole usually doesn't hurt,
If it
and
does,
it's-
okay, so if
your
you have a
asshole's usually
pain-free,
not on fire.
okay, all right,
and then one day you wake up and it's on fire.
fire-free buttocks,
Yeah.
no hemorrhoids, fired up buttocks,
Yeah.
possibly hemorrhoids,
And
or-
you're a straight man with no sexual activity going on in your bunghole.
all right, so that's good to know. So any update with you? You're
Man,
coming
I'm
back
like-
to training
I'm,
tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm coming back, man. I'm probably like 95% good.
Are you going to be wearing
pushing
like a
through it.
man pon or something? Or?
Nah, man. I'm gonna just I'm gonna just try these break falls and see what happens.
Oh man, so we got that, buddy. Tyler King, fight to win.
Fight to win.
Yeah, can't wait to see that match.
Yeah, me either.
This is the match that we've all been waiting for.
Most talked about match.
That didn't happen last time because
Yeah.
you injured yourself in some sort of warm up mishap.
It wasn't a warm up. It was just training.
Gotcha.
But I'll be all right. I got my whole week planned out to avoid injury.
No gi,
No gi this time.
fight to win, October 19th, 2300 Arena, Philadelphia.
Yeah, this is an awesome event.
Yeah, we got
It's
a lot of big time grapplers on this event.
Yeah, there's
Tim Carpenter.
aside from myself and Tyler King,
Yeah.
there's,
Tim Williams.
Tim Williams, a
Got
lot
a
of
couple-
balance guys. Steve Plyler,
Yeah.
a
A couple guys from our
Kyle
Del Rand
Hughes.
school.
Yep.
Yeah. Gabriel and Robbie.
Gabriel's fighting Andre.
Yeah, Petrosky.
It's gonna be a good match.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
I think if it's in the gi, I think it should be kind of interesting. I don't know much about Andre, but he's an MMA fighter, right?
He's an MMA fighter, wrestler, jiu-jitsu guy. He's good at
Oh,
everything.
nice.
He actually does a lot of grappling competitions
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
between.
So does Gabriel. Gabriel's like a very
He
competitive,
stays busy with competition.
right? And Robbie is going up against the dude from Plylers, Super Footlock. man.
Kevin?
Yes,
Oh,
Kevin
that'd be a
Lynch.
cool match.
Yeah.
That'd be fun to watch.
I don't know if it's gi or no gi. I have a feeling it's no gi for whatever reason.
Either way, it'll be cool.
Yeah.
And then the big names I got Kainan Duarte and Rodriguez, Nicky Rod. This
Yes.
is the main event. And then there's one of the Meow brothers is fighting somebody.
I think another Brazilian cat.
Yeah. And then I never know how to say his name. That Izaki
Bahianes.
Bahanis.
Yeah, Bahianes.
Yeah. Whatever his name is, he's fighting somebody too.
Nice.
And he's really good.
And
World champ.
William
no-gi world
Woke
champ.
versus I want to say Amal Easton, but no, it's somebody.
Mike Easton.
Mike
Hulk.
Easton. Yeah,
The DC Hulk.
I haven't seen him in the circuit for a while.
I haven't either. I don't know
Yeah,
what
so
he's
it
been up to,
should
but
be kind of interesting.
yeah, it's gonna be a good show.
Yeah,
I would be excited just to go to it.
Yeah, and you get to go to it and compete in it.
You get to go for free.
Nice. And get paid.
Yeah.
How does that work? How do you get paid in an event? Like, because I know how MMA works. You get a check from the promoter and blah, blah, blah.
Same thing. You
Yeah.
get paid percentage of tickets. I think you get 20% of whatever tickets you sell.
Right.
And then you get paid to win. You get paid a certain amount, and it doubles if you win by submission.
Okay.
And then also if the show sells out or breaks even or whatever, he doubles everybody's money.
Nice.
And also he pays for every win you have over your loss. I think you get 10% more.
So if I have 9-1, I get
90%
more. Okay. Okay.
10% more for every. I think it's 10% more for every win you have over a loss on your record.
Okay. So it really. So he's really incentivizing the
Yeah,
win,
he's-
incentivizing the submission.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. I like what he does.
And I had somebody reach out to me because Gabriel is going up against a kid that's like affiliated with Balance, and we're part of the Balance affiliation, and so's Robbie. And they're like, well, isn't that weird? That, same people from the same affiliation are going. I go, I don't think
Never
these guys
met
have
each
ever
other.
met, right? Number one, and number two, it's a grappling match,
Yeah.
right? Like if it was an MMA fight for
Even
big
still-
money,
Yeah,
it'd
but
be
still.
different, right? Like early in your career, maybe you don't want to do it, right? But whatever. But at a certain point, like it's just a grappling match. It's it's like what's the worst that can happen,
Yeah, like what if they were in the same gym together?
right?
Would they not train because they don't want to?
Right.
Because they're from the same. It's dumb. Yeah, it's cool. I like it. They don't even know each other's names, so it's like their instructors know each other.
Right, exactly.
Loosely.
Yeah. Have heard of the other guy,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So, and which leads us into the big.
That's one of the things
UFC.
I like a lot about ADCC is that they force teammates to fight like first or second round.
It's good because then you don't get any kind of
Bullshit
like
closeouts in the
closeouts and not
finals,
or fake matches, which ADCC had a big problem with back in the
Yeah.
day of matches being faked and certain people being pushed to certain levels to get extra prize
What
money.
do you mean? Like when they get to the end, they already decided who's going to be
They
the
just
one.
don't fight. Like and you'll see it happen in the World Championships. Is like guys
with
from
the
same
gi
team,
especially?
They just like if me and you are from the same team, we make it to the finals. We just shake hands and we decide who gets the gold medal.
Yeah,
And
so you won't
this
have
year
a match.
and this year is the worst in the worlds. The open weight finals of the worlds this year, the guys weren't even from the same team. They're just friends, and they didn't fight, and they just decided who was going to get the medal.
Right.
Oh, but if they put them first, then it's like, oh no, you're not
well,
going to
yeah.
just stop now.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I guess if you're just friends, they can't. Like, how do they know who's friends and who's not? Right? Or who's going to do that? Like, we're the same team. You put your team down
Right.
so they could just look at the bracket and be like, okay, well, if you're from the same team, you're going to have to meet early. Because usually in the IBJJF World Championships or any kind of championships, they put you on opposite side. Typically, they would put you on
Yeah.
opposite sides of the bracket so that you don't meet until the end. And if I recall correctly, there was a while there that they said that you had to do the match. Like the closeouts weren't a thing because the fans were getting upset.
Yeah, I don't know. I think not having a final for the open weight of the World Championships
weak.
is the worst thing you could
Yeah.
ever do.
Why would what I'm trying to wrap my head around is why wouldn't you fight your friend?
Well, so number one, it's not even a fight, right?
Right,
Like I would
right.
like I
Compete
would
against
never
your friend.
I would if Tim and I were in the World Championships and we got to the finals of the open division, I'm okay. It's like it just means a little bit more, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to be friends based upon what
Correct.
happens. Now, if we had to fight each other in the UFC and it was our first fight, I'd try to avoid that.
I
But
get that.
But if they're like, hey, Tim and I sit down and we talk like, hey, this is kind of generational type money that we're going to make for this fight, we might want to consider doing
Like
this fight.
Cowboy Cerrone in his last
Yeah.
fight.
Or no, but I'm talking about like if it was because I don't even think that Cowboy made generational type
Right,
money.
right,
But,
right.
You know, like
Right.
But even that, it's like it's a fight that has to happen. And I heard Randy Couture say, he was like, they were asking about fighting his friends. He's like, we beat each other up every day in training.
And I was
He's
going
like,
to
why
say that,
wouldn't we
like, I
do it
could
for
fist fight my boy today over an argument, and
Right.
we're going to be hanging out tomorrow.
right, or even just in like you're talking about in sparring. Like I've seen Tim beat the crap out of people that I know that he is really good friends with.
Mhm.
Do you know what I'm saying? Just like beat the snot out of them, right? And it doesn't mean that they're any less friends. There's just no money involved, right? I understand some of it where people get weirded out and like they don't want to fight their friends and they don't want relationships to change. But if you don't let the relationship change, it doesn't change. I guess with like Colby Covington and Masvidal, they were cool. Now it seems like they're not because they're talking about fighting each other. But were they really cool all that
In the
time.
first place.
You
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
It's weird because you don't really see that in like wrestling, judo, other sports. People go against each other all the time.
And people will train together
Yeah,
and
yeah.
know that they're going to go against
Yeah.
each other, right? And this kind of leads into what we were going to talk about. Is Kron Gracie is quoted as saying, "Is the way I grew up training and fighting martial arts is basically you have a clan and a team, and you're with your team forever." Forever is what Gracie told reporters in regards to Cub Swanson not getting trained by Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu schools because he was fighting Kron. So what Kron's basically saying is you're stuck with who you're stuck with, right? Like you are who you are. Like you're with Team A and you're with Team A forever, and that's who he's with, and he's not changing anything, right?
It's funny because Kron switched to Nick Diaz's team.
Did he switch or did he just go there, right?
And it's not the team he came up with. It's not. He's always been. Why isn't he training with Hickson?
I don't know. I mean, his dad wasn't around.
But that's who you're stuck with.
Right, yeah.
If he's gonna live by what he says,
right, he did fly to Brazil and train with his
Yeah,
dad and
but that's-
have his dad train him. Right,
not that
And-
he couldn't afford it.
Cub ended up,
winning.
yeah.
Right,
And not just that, I don't think if Cub was having trouble finding places to train, he wasn't looking that hard.
right.
Like
There's
it's not
plenty-
like he could have gone to any 10th planet school.
Right,
Like,
right,
Like
right,
they're
yeah.
not gonna not train
Yeah.
you because you're. You know,
I think it was just a nice narrative for him to help sell that fight.
yeah,
Right,
Maybe
to
give
get
him
him
some
to get
motivation.
him to get us talking about Cub Swanson.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
he
I-
probably went to one school.
Right, and they're
That
like,
was a Kron Gracie
right,
affiliate.
exactly. What I did like what Kron said was, because he didn't really believe it during one of the press scrums, and he goes, "Tell me the name of the school. I'd like to send him a T-shirt." So I thought that was pretty cool. But like there's a lot of people that push this narrative or this idea that you're only allowed to train with the people that you came up with. You can't go to any other team and all this other stuff because we're gangs and it's a clan.
Yeah, it's
and-
a gang mentality.
yeah, it is, but it's nonsense because how this started as the gang of jiu-jitsu versus the gang of karate, right? So now because my subset of this jiu-jitsu gang is now not affiliated with your subset of that jiu-jitsu gang, we can't be cool. Like,
Does it sound familiar? This is the same thing that happens with sets.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Because then it became like if
then you
you're
get-
Elio Gracie versus Carlson Gracie.
Yeah, right.
Like there's beef between like you have to hate these
Everybody
guys
they hate,
because
right.
this guy's uncle doesn't like this guy's uncle.
I wonder if
You know what
jiu-jitsu
mean?
has like a Takashi Snitch 9, as everybody's calling him.
I mean, maybe remember the dudes that were doing steroids and that dude had that out page.
It's like, yeah, the dope grappling guy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, could see. There's a
Takashi
snitching happen right there. But yeah, so like people talk about like you have to train with who you train with. You can't get it. You can't get any training anywhere else. And these are the dudes that got you where you got. It's like, okay, like if that's how you feel, that's awesome. But then you're gonna get sometimes the outcomes that you're gonna get.
And it's fairly obvious that Kron doesn't live by what he says.
Because he'd be
'Cause
not training with
he
the
wouldn't
Diaz
be
brothers.
training with the Diaz brothers. He
Right.
would be training with his dad
Right.
forever.
And ever.
Yeah, he wouldn't be.
Or at his own school with
he
the
just
people.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be in Stockton, California, training with the Diaz brothers. Or he wouldn't be training boxing. He wouldn't be training anything. He'd just be training jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. No, and so I think it's it's an old idea that stems from jiu-jitsu being the clan versus the clan of karate, and then like Devon's saying is the sets, trying to make their mark. But I think this leads to a bigger issue, which might be a problem that Kron eventually is going to have, and he had it in this fight, is that if he doesn't change the way he's training or who he's training with, he'll lose the way he lost.
I don't know. It was a weird fight because he didn't even try to get it to the ground.
Well,
that
he
I
pulled
can
guard
remember.
once, right?
Yeah, but like there was no. He wasn't really trying to clinch. He was just like
he
waiting.
tried
for,
to pull guard three
he was,
times.
Okay.
Anytime he would get a hold of him, but he wasn't like actively. He was just waiting forward and trying to brawl with him, and then he would like grab him and try to pull guard. It was a terrible.
I heard I didn't get a chance to see the fight. I read the stuff on Sherdog. They said he looked tough. Like it was a tough fight.
He got beat up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it looked like Cub wasn't going to let him grab him, bro.
Right.
And be honest.
Yeah.
And this is what wanted to lead me into another point where, man, if a guy's really good, really good at jiu-jitsu and he wants to make that transition into MMA, right? Like I truly believe that you have to make your transition, like the skill set increases have to go jiu-jitsu, wrestling, then your kickboxing, right? Like that's got to be kind of your transitional focus, where especially if you're going to be using your jiu-jitsu as a heavy component of your MMA, like your wrestling and your takedowns need to be on point more so than your offensive kickboxing. I don't know. What do you think, Tim?
I think, I think you don't have time. Like Kron doesn't have time to learn how to be a good wrestler and a good striker, but he can learn how to be a good MMA fighter and learn to use certain techniques from each, just a couple techniques from each to make his jiu-jitsu work better. Like a couple good punching combinations and feints and a couple takedowns is like really all he needs to sort of blend everything together.
Right.
But right now he's just walking straight forward, throwing punches, and he's throwing his like the Gracie stomp kick.
Right.
But there wasn't anything. Nothing was being mixed up. It was like he was throwing punches and kicks, and then desperately trying to grab for stuff.
Okay.
Like it wasn't like he didn't seem like he had a plan when he went in there.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah, I heard no level changes, no shots whatsoever.
There was like, and it's something you see. It's rare that you see somebody like I think GSP is the best at it. A guy that you don't know what he's gonna take you down or jab you in the face or kick you in the head. It's like you never know what he's gonna do, and that's why he's so effective at pulling things off. Like he jabs you and then he double legs you, and then he fakes a double leg and then he throws a right hand, and then he kicks you in the head and then he double legs you again. It's like you never. And then his feints get you all fucked up and
right. And then off of your offense, he's getting you down as well. Yeah.
But that's like something. It's just so rare, even for top level MMA guys. Usually, guys are like one or the other. Even like a guy like Daniel Cormier, you never see him really. He's either just walking forward and punching, or he's picking people up and slamming them.
Right.
Yeah, when I watched the dude Kron, that was like the first time, and I thought he looked like he was regular.
Yeah,
he didn't look like anything to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and there's certain aspects of his game that are regular, right? I mean, like he gets to the ground, he's not regular. He's one of the best guys.
Yeah, if he
in the
gets
world.
if he gets a hold of you, like, and that's what happened in his other fights, is he would get a hold of guys. Like he fought Caceres. Caceres is really good.
He fought Kawajiri. Kawajiri's really good.
Yeah.
Like he hasn't had any easy fights. So this is like even this. What was Cub's record? Like 27-15 or whatever it is. I got a lot of fights, but he's fought guys with a lot of fights. So fighting somebody with a lot of experience isn't new to him. It's just that sounds like Cub used a smart game plan, good footwork, using his hands, moving in and out, and not getting grabbed or pressed.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It looked like Cub had a game plan, and what's his name didn't.
Kron,
Kron,
whatever his name is.
Kron didn't have a game plan. He looked like he was just trying to be tough. It was a very strange thing to watch.
But it also seems like in a lot of his other fights that people feed into what he's doing.
A lot of people get scared.
And they're like,
freeze up.
Yeah, and they're like, I'm not going to be able to hit him, and he's going to take me down, and then they just wind up clinching with him anyway, and then he gets what he wants, and Cub wasn't falling for him.
They both got some real dope names, though. Those are fire names. Kron Gracie, Cub Swanson. It's like, how'd you get that, bro?
Is Cub his like government name, or is that a nickname?
If it is, it's fire.
Yeah. That's a great name for a kid. Cub.
Here's my son, Cub.
That's hot.
Right. Yeah. So I think Kron needs to definitely work on his wrestling. Maybe take a page or two out of the Gary Tonin playbook, who, has a really good way of getting it to the ground, mixing it up a little bit more, doing that as Danaher.
That's like
the grapple box.
Tonin does that a lot. Like he's punching, pulling guard off. He'll like grab a single leg and pull guard off it,
Right.
or like he has like a very unorthodox like way of fighting, which makes it very unpredictable.
Now, how does Ryan Hall get it to the floor? Because he's, a very
Ryan Hall, he has worked a lot on his striking,
okay.
and so he just goes out there and throws like long spinning kicks and head kicks and stuff, and waits for the guy to take him down, and then he gets a submission. I mean, he has a very interesting way of fighting, but he trains that with a good coach, Faraz.
Right, a TriStar.
Like, I don't think it's smart for Kron to train with the Diaz brothers, because those guys never have a game plan other than to walk forward and be tough.
And, like beat you down and
Yeah.
use their triathletic
Yeah,
experiences.
it's not something you can really translate to like a student. Whereas like a guy
It's probably great training.
tough training, but I bet he'd get better training with someone like Faraz or Jackson's or something.
Right.
Where they actually teach you how to fight with a strategy.
Right, but maybe but I think those guys, like the Diaz brothers, probably resonate more with Kron because of
Because of this old school mentality.
100%. Even though, like you're saying, he doesn't live what he's saying because he's training with people that are outside of his original team. But man, yeah, it's kind of interesting. I wish it would have turned out differently for him. It would have been nice to see him make a run, but hopefully maybe he starts working on his wrestling or having a better game plan. But if you had to give a young jiu-jitsu competitor or jiu-jitsu, like a guy starting off at a jiu-jitsu school and saying, hey, these are the progressions that you need to make to take your jiu-jitsu from being sport jiu-jitsu to effective for MMA cage fighting, what kind of advice would you give him?
I would say don't look at it as don't even separate it into striking, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu. Like look at it as like MMA fighting. Like you have jiu-jitsu skills. If you're at a jiu-jitsu school and you like jiu-jitsu, then you need to figure out how to make it work in a fight. So like doesn't mean becoming a good wrestler or a good kickboxer. It means learning how to use jiu-jitsu in a fight. Like whatever it takes to get you to be able to use your skills. So it could be, again, like watch a guy like Gary Tonin. Like he's not a world-class striker and he's not a world-class wrestler, but he's mixing things up in a way that makes his jiu-jitsu super effective.
Right.
And the threat of that will make the strikes more effective or the takedowns more effective.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like having multiple threats is going to make you harder to deal with.
But if we take a step back and so mixing it up in training, right? Like working MMA, right? But because you look at GSP, who's probably one of the best that's ever done it, right? He's really done a good job of compartmentalizing his training. Like he goes to somebody for Muay Thai and they don't mix it. He goes to somebody for boxing and they're not doing anything else. He goes to somebody for wrestling, right? And then he has his jiu-jitsu, and then he has somebody that brings it all together for MMA. Now he has the assets and the resources to be able to pay all those different coaches. But what do you think about like fighters taking that deep dive into Muay Thai, into boxing, and compartmentalizing?
That would probably be ideal. It's just for someone starting out at a jiu-jitsu school, it's pretty unrealistic.
Okay.
To be able to go train with the Olympic wrestling team,
but
then
not
you could train with Freddie Roach.
No, right, but not to that highest levels. But if you can compartmentalize the training, if you could wrestle with wrestlers,
you could get into like a high school wrestling team,
right,
and work some wrestling once a week. Same thing, go to a boxing gym once a week. But your main focus should be on how to put wrestling into like training. Wrestling doesn't really get you ready for an MMA fight,
right?
Because you're not in a fighting stance, you're in a wrestling stance, So adapting the wrestling, the takedown skill to the striking and the jiu-jitsu part is what you need to do.
Okay.
But the better you can't be too good at anything.
Right. Yeah. And for you, like, because you kind of, like you're a Pennsylvania area Kron Gracie type, really good at jiu-jitsu, moved into boxing, then from boxing into Muay Thai, right? Because your first, like foray into striking was boxing. Yeah. What was kind of like, what were the differences and what made you realize, hey man, I need to know throwing these elbows and these kicks and these knees, and when jiu-jitsu, and when you realized maybe just jiu-jitsu wasn't enough?
After my first fight, I realized jiu-jitsu wasn't enough for fighting. So then
for fighting in the cage.
Right. So then I was like, I just need to know how to throw punches. And then I went and I was training a lot with Brandon Vera, and he was really good at Muay Thai, and he would kick the shit out of me. So then I was like, fuck, I need to learn how to actually like kick and do other stuff. So then I started doing Muay Thai, and but my game plan in fighting was basically just I was going to walk forward and throw punches until the guy wanted to grapple. Like I was going to try to tire people out until they wanted to grapple with me and then submit them. That was like always my sort of thought process going into it, So it wasn't the smartest.
No, some of the pictures that we have after your post fight in victory and in defeat, you usually got. Most of your fights were long, protracted wars anyway.
It was about half and half.
Okay.
Half and half finishes to
protracted wars.
Yeah.
So, moving on from Kron into more important and more famous people like myself, I just did the Andocast last night.
I heard.
Yeah.
I'm excited to listen. When's it coming out?
I don't know. Not sure. You were right. A really cool setup. Living on that farm, like I thought I was going to get murdered.
Yeah. It looks. Yeah, it's a little sketchy when you first get there, but it's pretty cool.
He had
I'm slightly jealous of his living situation.
Yeah, he had some sort of lantern that he was waving when I was driving because I had no clue.
I got there in the daytime. I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was like an old haunted. What would be the word? Farm that he lives on. And we did the Andocast. I've officially squashed the beef with the Andocast. There might be beef between you and him now based on that conversation. So I don't know. You'll have to figure that one out. But yeah. So if you're a listener of the NinjaRob podcast, I will be on the Andocast. I'm not sure when, but we'll announce it. And don't forget, November 17th.
Super seminar.
Starting at 10:30. If you go to ninjarob.com, you can click on the link at the top of the page that says click here to register for seminar. It is free to all the listeners that register. As long as you register, you can come to the seminar. It'll start at 10:30. It will go to noon. And then from noon till whenever, it'll be open mat for those of you that want to stay and train. It will be at New Jersey Martial Arts, which is located at 455 Route 38 West in Maple Shade, New Jersey.
I still don't know what I'm going to teach.
Bro, you've had a week. More than a week.
I know. I will let everybody know by the next podcast.
But the next podcast, what you're teaching. You will be teaching something, though.
What are you doing again? Triangle escapes?
No. You're teaching
Rear naked.
No. Come on.
What are you doing again?
I am doing a submission from cross-side, the finishing mechanics of the triangle to help your triangle, and a sweep from half guard. Yeah, those are the three things.
Totally
Maybe not in that particular order.
Totally unconnected.
100% unconnected.
So now I'm trying to think if I should do unconnected techniques or if I should do a sequence.
And we'll set some time aside to answer questions for people that are there. They could be podcast related or jiu-jitsu related. And according to the health of Devon's asshole, he may be there as well, training and taking.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So, and I've been meaning to ask you this on air, bro. What are your goals for the podcast? We're 22 episodes deep.
Man, my goals for the podcast are just to actually do it.
Well, we've been knocking it out of the park with that.
We've been doing it. We've been being
22.
consistent. So now I think it's time that we come up with some new goals for the podcast.
Okay.
Or at least myself, but yeah, my first goal was just to actually get it done because we've been talking about it forever.
Yeah.
And we've done.
And we did a bunch that we just kind of that are sitting on a computer.
Can't ever be released.
Yeah. Well, maybe one of like a bonus episode.
I don't know if any of those could be released.
Why?
They're pretty.
They were more lifestyle podcasts than they were martial arts podcasts.
But they're.
We got into some deep subjects, and we did some freeform weird stuff too.
Too much fisting talk. A lot of weird stuff.
Yeah.
In those ones, but
or maybe not enough fisting talk.
Yeah. No, that I haven't listened to them. Were they funny?
Some of them were hilarious.
Yeah.
I got to find them. They're on my computer somewhere.
Yeah. But. Yeah, so now it's just about, I guess it would be, the next step would be to get more people interested in the podcast.
Yeah, like growing our listener base. Because I was talking to Ando of the Andocast, or Andy, and I'm not really too crazy interested in having a bunch of guests come through.
Right.
Only because I'm not really, like, as much as I might sound like it and seem like it, I'm not crazy social. Yeah. Sometimes I don't really care what other people have to say.
Sometimes.
Well, most of the time. But I think we're doing a good job of creating a show that gets our voice out there, right? Which is one of the things that we'd originally talked about was cementing ourselves as subject matter experts in martial arts and martial arts business, fighting, MMA. And I think the people that do listen on a consistent basis would agree with that. Now, you and I talked yesterday after training how people that we don't have a direct connection with have been listening.
Yeah.
You said you walked into some store.
Vitamin shop guy said he loves the podcast. I think he didn't know if I guess he listened to only one episode, so he didn't know if I was a guest or if it was like I was on it.
So I had a guy join my school that had trained at another school and started listening, and then his school closed down, and one of the reasons that he came to us was a kind of a connection through the podcast. And he wasn't sure who he was going to meet, me or you. He didn't really, he wasn't sure who owned my school. So he's like, the guy with the deep voice or the guy with the light voice?
I have the deep voice.
I think I have the deep voice.
Really?
I don't know. Maybe.
I think mine's deeper.
But and from a standpoint of like the direction that the show is going in, I really like the direction. I think you and I need to do a better job of coming up with pre-show notes. In the sense of like things that we're going to talk about.
Some of our better episodes have been noteless.
True. But I think like having, like knowing that we were going to talk about Kron was helpful today, knowing that we were going to talk about like these kinds of things. But kind of having a better back and forth on what we're going to be talking about, or current ideas that are going on.
I think one of the issues is we should probably we should not be allowed to speak to each other before the mics are on, because sometimes we burn out 20 minutes of good conversation about
Right?
something.
Yeah. True.
You know?
We can.
And then it's you don't want to like try to remanufacture it for the air.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe we take a vow of silence when we first get here.
We don't even talk to Devon. We just like zip it.
We zip it until the mics are on, and then we just go.
We just I could do that. I love not talking to you. Yeah, and really, so for all the listeners out there, we appreciate it, but we want to grow our listener base. That's one of the reasons why we're doing the seminar. We want to connect with all of the people that listen, but also we want, and we feel that more people in the martial arts should be listening to our voice, because there's plenty of crap voices out there.
Yeah, share it.
Yeah.
Share our stuff.
And let people know that this is
The truth.
the truth of the NinjaRob podcast. Speaking of podcasts,
Yeah.
are you listening to any currently?
I was actually listening to one on the way here.
What were you listening to?
True crime all the time.
Okay, what's the deal with that one?
They just do true crime stories.
What was the episode you were
This
listening
is part 3 of John Wayne Gacy.
So for all the fans and listeners out there, you are a huge fan of serial killers.
I wouldn't say I'm a fan of serial killers.
You're a fan of serial killing.
No, I wouldn't say that either.
Okay.
I wouldn't. I would never say that I'm a fan of serial killers.
Fan of murder.
No,
No?
definitely not that. I find true crime in general fascinating.
Okay.
Like why people do crazy shit.
Right.
And I think serial killers are like the top of the heap when it comes to like depravity. So
I would disagree with you, but
I mean, how like what do you think is worse than serial killing?
so I think like con men and those kinds of guys are worse. Yeah.
But see that
It's a different, they prey on a different part of people.
a big part of serial killing is also being a con man. So like there's these guys are basically con men that also rape, torture, murder people and eat them, and you know what I mean? It's like
Right.
it's con man to an even more depraved level. So they might not do as much for the money,
Right.
but they do that too.
Right.
You know, they live these like insane made up story lives while they're out.
Because didn't it recently there's this one guy who's
Samuel Little.
the most prolific murderer of all time?
Yeah.
Is it like 90
Well,
people?
the most prolific American. that
Okay.
they know of.
All right.
A lot of other countries don't really they don't sort of let those things out. Like communist countries like Russia wouldn't let out any of their stuff.
Yeah,
about
there was
serial killers
a
for long
pretty
time.
famous
China too.
Right.
Um,
But it's
But,
the idea of the serial killer was kind of invented here in America, right? The idea of it, not the actual.
the phrase serial killer.
Okay.
But like, there's a cool book called Sons of Cain,
Okay.
and it's about like serial killing throughout history, and like it's just part of human nature.
Right.
And that's why the way they sort of think about it is you're not socialized to become a serial killer. A serial killer is someone that lacks or missed out on the socialization that would keep you from being so we all have it within us to be murderous animals,
Okay.
but we're socialized out of it. Where these guys somewhere along the way never got it.
Okay. And
That's kind of stuff I find interesting. But let me look at my podcast list real quick. There's mostly serial killers. Yeah. Damn. Scary stories to read in the dark.
Okay.
I have Joe Rogan on there, but I haven't listened to Joe Rogan.
Right.
in
So
months.
scary stories to read in the dark. What is that?
It's like horror stories. I've actually never listened to it. I just
Okay.
subscribed to it. I
Right.
never got into it. Yeah, pretty much they're all. And the NinjaRob. I'm subscribed to NinjaRob.
Avid listener.
Last podcast on the left. Becoming the Lion, Joe Zatmary's podcast.
I listened to the episode you were on, but I haven't listened to any others.
The Man in the Window. That was one about the Golden State Killer. Who they found him by 23andMe.
Yes, I heard
He had
about
been
that.
like
yeah.
raping and murdering women for
And then took like a
20-some
sabbatical,
years.
right? Didn't he?
Yeah.
Wasn't there like is that? And
Most-
that's pretty common for serial killers, for some of them to take some time off to
So that's what defines a serial killer. is-
decompress.
well, a serial killer is someone that kills more than they changed the number 2 to 3
Okay.
with a cooling off period in between. So a mass murder would be somebody that just kills in a spree, like
Okay.
boom, 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 like all the time, and then they get caught really quick. Serial killers take a cooling off period in between the murders. But it's rare that they take like 10 years off. But a lot of them, they hit a certain age, like I guess they say when their testosterone levels drop and like things, as they get older, they're just incapable of really killing anymore.
Okay.
So they kind of
Become more
stop.
docile.
Yeah, basically. That's what happens to a lot of them. And I also find it fascinating that there's probably way more out there than
we know. Because
Than we
I
know.
sent you an article and you knew who the guy was who had the kill kit,
Israel Keys.
that he had set it up like 3 years ahead of time.
Mhm.
Like that dude was fascinating.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff about him. He's super fascinating. But these guys are all crazy. So the reason they get caught is because they go into like a frenzy mode. And this guy broke his own rules. Like he would travel around the world to kill people,
Right,
around the country.
So he flew, and I'm probably wrong, but like he flew to Wisconsin and then drove to Ohio
Right.
to do a murder, to kind of like to not have any kind of connection.
And he's the guy that's suspected. Like they've only, I think, connected him to like 2 or 3 actual murders.
Right.
But he's suspected in like multiple double digits.
And did he kill himself?
Yes, killed himself in jail.
Okay. So I wonder if that goes on.
He was interesting too because you can watch all his interrogations. He was trying to hold. He was like giving information to get. He wanted to get the death penalty, and he didn't want his daughter to find out anything about him. He's like, as soon as he got caught, he was like, "Look, he's like, I'll tell you guys some stuff." He's like, I don't want this to be sensationalized. He's like, I don't care about being famous. He's like, I want a date where I'm going to die. And then he killed himself because they were trying to prolong it and stretch it out.
and get all the
Yeah.
right.
So he never gave up all the people that he killed.
Yeah, see, I'm not nearly into murders and serial killers. Like, I think they're interesting from that standpoint, but I don't know, man. You're like a historian of these guys.
Yeah.
It's crazy interesting. I'm more into a couple of the podcasts that I'm currently listening to one called Swindled,
Mhm.
which is about con men and people that got caught in cons. The last one that I listened to this morning actually was that couple in South Jersey that said that they got $20 from the homeless junkie who bought them gas, and then they did the GoFundMe and they got $400,000 for it. And like what I love hearing is when people think they're really smart and when they're fucking over a bunch of people and then they just make stupid mistakes to get caught.
Yeah. I mean, I love that stuff too.
Yeah.
That's one of the things, same thing I like about serial killers is like these people live these fucking crazy fantasy lives, but it all comes crashing down.
Yes.
Like you can't get away with it.
So and even there were other ones where they talk about like how this one son in Oklahoma took over his dad's trucking company and he just basically burned it down to the ground and went to prison for stealing money and ruined his mom's $100 million fortune, just like that kind of stuff. Or the other so Swindled's a really good one. There's a bunch of episodes out there. It's one guy speaking in a monotone voice over like eerie music, and he's got a dry sense of humor. So it's pretty. I think it's done really well. If you could get into it, and if you have a problem with his voice, you just got to get past it. The other one that I thought was fascinating, it's not a series. It was just a like maybe 6 or 8 episodes that they did, was called Ponzi Supernova, about Bernie Madoff.
Yeah.
And they actually have Madoff on like record and talking to him about it.
Oh, nice.
It is absolutely fascinating. You can listen to it on Audible. I think it's one of the free Audible ones.
Those guys are fascinating. Like con men are fascinating because they prey on people's like the inherent corruption that's in everybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you can't, if you're an honest person, you won't get conned. You'll only get conned if you buy into the
That you can
fantasy that
right.
you can triple your money
Yeah.
quickly without doing any work.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that's so fast is that they prey on like the just the bad part of people. Like if you're in control of yourself and you don't get sucked into the fantasy, then you won't get ripped off.
Yeah, and what was fascinating was how easily he got it off, how well respected he was for a long time. I think he was head of the SEC or whatever some sort of governing body, and how many times he had almost gotten caught, and how easily he would have gotten caught if regulators would have just taken one extra step. Like he had this account that all of your trades are supposed to go through, and they're like, oh yeah, we're just going to check on the account. All they did was verify that they had the account. They never verified that any transactions went through it, because had they looked at the transaction history, they would have seen like he's saying billions of dollars are going through here, but meanwhile zero is gone. Yeah. And he goes, yeah, he's like, I really thought that was the end for me.
It's very interesting because sort of parallel between serial killers. They almost all have a similar story of they have a body chopped up in the trunk, and they get pulled over by a cop, and the cop's like, "Oh, you mind opening up your trunk?" He's like, "Yeah, go ahead." He's like, "You only going to find a dead body in there," and they'll make a joke about it.
Right.
They'll be like, "Don't worry about it. Just go ahead."
Yeah, just keep going.
Like they almost all have a story like that, and the way he got away with it is just by sort of being a psychopath and being able to be like confident and calm in that
Right.
situation, and not a normal person would freak out if they were about to get caught for stealing billions of dollars, and like a guy's looking at it like when they can easily be found,
Right.
and they're just able to like say like, "No, that's cool."
Dude, so at one point they had the audit, whatever government auditors there, and they needed certain paperwork, and this paperwork would have been old, so they were printing it out. And if you print enough stuff out of a printer, it's hot. Like like the printing process makes the paper hot. That they had to throw the paper in the freezer to cool it down.
Yeah.
And then what they did is they were tossing the bundles of paper back and forth to each other to make it to make it look old and like that kind of
Pour a
stuff.
little coffee on it.
Yeah, do whatever. Yeah, which was kind of crazy. But Ponzi Supernova, I would listen to that. I think it's like 8 or 10 episodes. And what I found out about Bernie Madoff is that he's basically now he's cornered the hot chocolate market in the prison he's in. So if you want any hot chocolate in the prison that Bernie Madoff is in, you got to go through
That's
Bernie
awesome.
Madoff.
I find that interesting too. It's like the cream always rises to the top.
Yeah,
like
right.
that guy, no matter where you put him, he'll come out on top.
He'll make some
He'll
sort of
find a way to
take an angle. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a guy that went, maybe like a rags to riches, not part of any kind of social elite, and just took advantage of
the social elite.
of the social elite with their greed and that kind of stuff.
That's
So,
awesome. I gotta check that one.
Yeah,
out.
yeah, for sure. I would listen to it on Audible. So yeah, those are the we'll get into more of the stuff that we're listening to. But let's get into the one listener question we have.
Okay.
Dear Marco and Tim, this morning, October 10th, I checked Twitter and saw a trending hashtag that I couldn't believe I was reading. The hashtag states, Devon has leaking anus.
Has a leaking anus.
Has a leaking anus. Sorry, I was just
Is there really a hashtag?
Well, let's read the rest of the question. With all recent talk on Devon's anus, I thought this was the day NinjaRob had broke through the mainstream and went viral. For some reason, thousands of people found out about Devon's anus and proceeded to start a hashtag. The fact that his anus is leaking is breaking news, and people are losing their shit. That's a funny line. Turns out the Devon in question is Devon Nunes, a Republican congressman from California. The best part is the story originated from The Onion, a news satire site that some people think is real. Anyway, I hope Devon's anus heals up soon so he can train again. Feel free to give us an update on that, as well as Tim's goalie situation at home. Sincerely, anonymized listener.
That's definitely Bobby.
I don't know. Well, so looking at it, and I'm not an English wonk
It's
like
not-
you are.
Yeah.
Oh, so how is it written?
Too well to be Bobby.
Okay,
Like,
I
but-
thought it was very well written. Yeah.
Yeah, like Bobby, there would be way more misspellings and like just terrible like grammar and stuff.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, this feels. If I had to guess, this feels like Meathead Matt wrote it
yeah.
because it's
Especially
very well
because he
written.
mentioned something about a Republican congressman.
Yeah,
And he's our favorite
our favorite anarchist.
leftist anarchist.
Yeah. So
Um,
and Devon's back.
is this a question?
I didn't. Not really a question because there were Devon apparently.
Again, and
it's-
another reason why we can tell that it's Meathead Matt is because it's not a question.
It's not right.
It's just a
there's
statement.
there's a
of
hashtag
things.
going around. Devon has a leaking anus on Twitter, and somebody thought it was in reference to you, but it was about a Republican senator by the name of Devon Nunes.
Wow.
Yes.
The thought that was about me is kind of that's
But
kind of terrible.
I mean, it's possible. Have you talked about it on your other podcast?
no.
No.
Oh, okay.
You know how crazy Gil would go with that?
Oh wait, he doesn't listen to us.
No.
No, oh, sorry. So so let's talk about Devon's podcast, the other one that he's
$1
on.
million worth of games.
Yeah. So we were talking about podcasts we listen to. Do you want to tell the fans at home about $1 million worth of game? Because we're talking about podcasts we listen to and shit we do outside of this.
Okay, so $1 million worth of game is a music comedy podcast where myself, I'm the third man, and then there's Gilly the King and Wallow 267. Gilly the King is a rapper, kind of still raps, but he's really just like an influencer. And Wallow267 is also an influencer and a public speaker. And we just talk shit on each other the whole time. We snitch on each other. We tell each other's private business.
I mean, you guys just recently had some pretty big guests on there. Pinky, if you know anything about porn.
Pinky Triple X was on.
Pinky, she's a rather odd-shaped woman.
I don't want to be disrespectful.
Is that real? Is it real?
I don't know, man. I don't have anything to do with that.
You saw her in here? She was like live in studio?
She was like sitting right there.
But the only woman I know is Veronica. I don't know anything. I don't know anything else.
Devon, did you talk on this episode? Yes, I did. All right, I got to go listen to this one.
Listen, man. Look, man, that's all I know.
Right.
But yeah, we've
I bet you it's real.
We've had some
we've had multiple porn stars. We've had Pinky.
No, I've had
Dev Nasty.
No. Relax. Yeah, we're not talking about that. But I would assume, since she's from like back in the day, they didn't really deal with the fake things that much. If you had one, they just
and the way she's built's not uncommon. It's not an uncommon build.
It's not like her legs are skinny and her
I was just looking at her Instagram. She's very, very like she looks like a Crumb cartoon. You ever see?
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
She's built like a Crumb cartoon.
Yeah. She's got like for those listening, that Pinky Triple, she's got a giant buttocks. That's what Tim is referring to. Yeah. And compared to her buttocks, her waist is actually kind of small. Not that it's small, but compared to her butt, her waist is really small. Yeah. It's an odd, like it must be awful for her to buy clothes. Like there's got to be like certain brands that she has to buy.
Yeah, or everything is just like a spandex something. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, my wife has a hard time, and that's that she's got like a small waist and a big butt too. But I could see like she's got.
She's also black, so it's like that was a black problem for a lot of women for years. It wasn't, they felt like they weren't represented in the stores.
And I could see some of the jeans that my wife's buy, like they fit around her butt, but they don't fit around her waist.
So the waist will be like loose and stuff like that. Yeah, that's a common thing with black ladies. But we've had, not just porn people. We have two NBA stars coming up on episodes. We already recorded the episodes.
You had Danny Garcia on, right?
We had Danny Garcia as well. And we're still waiting for Allen Iverson. He really wants to be on the show, so we want to.
Yeah, but Dev's kind of like soft pedaling it because it's consistently the #1 rated music podcast on iTunes.
Well, what I will say is, we weren't #1 one week, man. Like the week before last or something like that. Hey, man, I don't know what happened. We weren't #1. We're back.
You said was it Dolly Parton knocked you guys off, huh?
Yeah, it was actually a few people. It seemed like a bunch of like country stuff. But I will say another urban podcast called Keeping It Butte. It's like Cardi B's sister or something.
Okay.
Knocked us down that week, but we're back. So it's cool.
So listen to if you listen to NinjaRob and you like it, you'll like Devon on.
Yeah, there's always martial arts references because Gilly hates martial arts and Wallow loves martial arts. Yeah, they have recently called your show the Karate Stand. I know Wallow fixed it immediately and said it's NinjaRob.
I ran in. I took my daughter out to breakfast one day and I ran into Wallow and he's there with his girlfriend and he introduces me to his girlfriend as
Sensei.
This is Sensei, and he goes, the fuck? And this is a real sensei. He says. He makes sure to say, this is a real sensei.
Not a bootleg.
Not a bootleg sensei. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right, folks.
That's a sweet mug.
That is.
Yeah, that's what I went around the corner to go get.
You went upstairs for that?
Yeah.
Oh, they sell stuff
made
like
that
that
for
up there?
Yeah, they make them. Yeah, man, they make this stuff, man.
Nice.
It's dope.
Oh, cool.
All right, folks. Anything else, Tim Dog?
No, that's it. I was ready to say it.
Peace.
There you go.
All right. Tim and I would like to thank our sound engineer and studio owner, Devon Wade, for always doing a great job with the sound, but also the beautiful facility that we get to use here at SFX Studios. We'd also like to thank Eddie Lynn, who takes and donates his time to the podcast to do all the video editing and everything you see on our social media. So really appreciate that from Eddie Lynn. And we'd also like to thank our friend Ralphie Darden, aka DJ Major Taylor, who gave us the original music that we use. So you're welcome, Tim. For
and almost just as importantly as everybody else that he mentioned, we would like to thank all of our listeners that submitted questions.
This is the NinjaRob podcast with Marco Perazzo and Tim Carpenter, the podcast for the true martial artist.